بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. Dear sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah, again I have the opportunity to be able to continue our discussion with you. We started something yesterday. We prayed, if you remember, for one of the lovely people who had attended. And then I got a few messages afterwards on Instagram of a few people who were like, please remember us as well. And we have to show everyone, or whether the ones who messaged me, or even the ones who have a problem and they didn't message, but let's just for 1 second bring our heart and pray for everyone who's going through any difficulty. It could be even some people sitting here. I mean, all of us in one way or the other, we are going through some challenges. So for them at home who are watching and for everyone here who is going through a difficulty, let's join me in reciting a salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Inshallah, my goal is one day, no one feels that they have to go through their difficulties alone. And I think an ideal community is one in which everyone feels supported. Everyone feels that others care about them. Okay, please recite another salawat and then we'll start, inshallah. All right. One of the main themes of this series was what? The idea that right now we are facing a meaning crisis. So many people are feeling so many questions. So many people are feeling that life doesn't make sense, that their suffering is too much. They keep asking, why is all of this happening? Why did God do that? Mental health crisis is happening. Suicide rates are spiking. We are dealing with a very serious challenge. And one of the things that we've been saying in the past few nights is that we need to go deeper in religion if we are to find a solution. Propositional knowledge, a kind of knowledge which is superficial, surface level, it's not going to cut it. And it's very interesting, actually, that I was looking at Ziyarat Arba'een today, and I came across this famous line in Ziyarat Arba'een, which probably many of you are familiar with. وَبَذَلَ مُهْجَتَهُ فِيكَ لِيَسْتَنْقِذَ عِبَادَكَ مِنَ الْجَهَالَةِ وَحَيْرَةِ الضَّلَالَةِ. In Ziyarat Arba'een, we're talking to God, and we're telling God what? Imam Hussein gave his life in God's way. Why? لِيَسْتَنْقِذَ عِبَادَكَ مِنَ الْجَهَالَةِ. To save the people, to save God's people from ignorance, from lack of knowledge. But the beauty of this line is that it immediately explains this is not a propositional knowledge that they didn't have. It's not like what Imam Hussein wanted to give them was a few sentences. The jahala, the ignorance, the lack of knowledge that Imam Hussein wanted to save people from was a deeper kind of knowledge. How do we know that? What comes next? وَحَيْرَةِ الضَّلَالَةِ. They were confused. They were in a confusion. They were lost, which is exactly what we've been saying. What does it mean to be lost? We're only lost when we cannot make sense of the place we are in, right? If you know where you are, you're not lost. So being lost by definition means that you can't make sense of where you find yourself. Where you are does not make sense, and that's what we've been saying. It's happening to us. A lot of people cannot make sense of the reality of their life, of the suffering, of so many aspects of it. So the jahala that Imam Hussein wanted to save people from was a kind of jahala that has to do with deeper levels of our being, not just sentences, which is what we spoke about in the first night. Okay, let's continue with the discussion we started yesterday. For those who were with us, the 10 ways that we can improve our community, the 10 opportunities we have for growth. And we said every single one of these 10 items is one way in which we are stuck at the surface. We have a shallow understanding, but as difficult as that is, that gives us an opportunity to do more work there and have a better relationship with our religion. Yesterday I mentioned 8 of them. Oh, by the way, do you remember number 7, what it was? Number 7 was that we have so much energy to go to the depth, but because we don't have access to the depth, we're stuck at the surface. And one of the ways I was mentioning that was how we have let down some of the most creative and beautiful artists in the community. And it's been very interesting because some of the artists actually messaged me and they were saying that they had experienced this. That as soon as they wanted to create an art which is a little bit different to what people expect, people were, they couldn't accept that. So it was very interesting for me that this also touched on the experience of the artist as well. They were like, they expect a very narrow, limited scope of work for us. If you change a little bit, it's not considered Islamic, and that limits their creativity. Anyway, that was number 7. Today we're going to pick up from number 9. Number 9, which is one of the 10 ways in which we can improve our community, and right now we're stuck at the surface, is that we expect perfection. We do not allow, or at least, even if in our mind we say that it's okay to make mistakes, everyone's made it, in the surface of community, what happens is that people feel like with the smallest mistake, they're done. They're not going to get any second chances, any third chances. You're expected to be perfect from the moment you become baligh till the end of your life. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I wish we could be like that. But I don't know about you. I wasn't perfect. And most of the people that we actually look up to, some of the even heroes that our youth have, were people who were not perfect from day one. One of the things which always, made me think was that many of you know Malcolm X, right? And many of you not only know him, but are inspired by him. I remember there was a time in Jose, whenever I asked my students, what are you reading? One of them would say, I'm reading Autobiography of Malcolm X. Like, I would ask it in another month, they would still say the same thing. That just showed how much they were inspired by this individual. But what's interesting is that if you actually read the Autobiography of Malcolm X, the first few chapters, he makes loads of mistakes. And those mistakes are in a way that I cannot even share some of them in the minbar. And I keep thinking with myself, if Malcolm X was alive right now and he was a member of our community, after he had made those mistakes, would we ever give him a second chance to become the person he became? Or maybe in the first chapters, after some of his mistakes, we had considered him a finished case, a person who no longer we have any expectations of. Done. That's it. You're burnt. It seems to me that we wouldn't have given him that second chance. But luckily, he wasn't with us. He was at a place where he was given second chances, third chances, and he became a person that's the source of inspiration and transformation for so many youths around the world. So, one of the things I think one of the ways in which we need to change is to understand this. As much as we wish our children wouldn't make mistakes, they may make them. They may make terrible mistakes. And to be honest with you, even some of the adults, we've made them as well when we were younger. Unfortunately, although we forget them, sometimes when we become parents, we become so judgmental of our children's behavior, which were exactly what we were doing when we were their age. And please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I'm happy that the children are making mistakes. I wish they didn't. Believe me, no one wished they didn't make mistakes more than those children themselves. But I'm saying sometimes that's what happens. Imagine, for example, I'm getting a lot of messages like this, that two people are meeting each other in the community. They feel like their personalities match. They can start a good family. Their interest, their purpose, everything is a good match. Once they want to get to know themselves a little bit better, and this, by the way, I've heard this a few times. One of them opens up to the other one. By the way, I need to be honest with you. In my past, I've made a mistake. I'm not happy about it. But I want to be honest with you so that there's no secret in my past. And when I think about this, I'm thinking, wow, a beautiful person. Made a mistake, but now is not happy about it. Not just he's not happy about it, she's trying to find a way to make sure she doesn't make more mistakes. And she's trying to start a healthy relationship. And she's so honest and beautiful that she's even sharing that. But I've seen so many times people on the other side, when they hear that, even though they've made the same mistakes, they can't accept that from the other part. So, for example, they say, how can I trust this person later on? Well, I'm like, mate, you made the same mistake. You're not different to that person. In many cases, they tell me themselves that I made the same mistake. Well, how come it's different for her? And why can't you trust her? In fact, you can trust her more than anyone else because she came up front and told you. And what else do you expect of her? She's trying to change. What else can she do? Right? And so this idea that we can reach till the end of our life without making mistakes, unfortunately for a lot of us is not true. I wish it was, by the way. I'm saying for 1,000 times. And we need to make sure we do everything so that people make less mistakes. Because no one suffers more than the person who makes the mistake themselves. And I'm seeing that very clearly. The amount of people who message me and they say, you know what, Sheikh, I've made a mistake. I'm trying to get out of it. It's so difficult. I'm addicted, for example, to this act. I can't get out of it. I've tried everything. I've promised to God. On the night of Qadr, I've made a promise. I'm doing my best. I just can't. And I'm so scared of people judging me. And some of them, they say, I've kept this secret which is eating me from inside for so many years and I couldn't even share it with anyone to ask for help. Because if I tell people that I'm dealing with this, they're not going to look at me again. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, that's true. Sometimes as soon as someone opens up about a mistake, we suddenly see them in a different light. And I want to say not just this is not Islamic, but at a deeper level, it shows that we don't have a correct understanding of insan. Insan was not meant to be perfect. Insan is reaching for perfection. The being in the world created by God that doesn't make mistakes are the angels. Angels are the one who always obey God and never disobey God. And if that was enough, God wouldn't create us. And in fact, that's the complaint the angels made after God created us. They were like, we're perfect. We obey you. We praise you. What's the deal with this insan? He's going to make mistakes. He's going to shed blood. And God says, see, there's something about this insan that is so special that it's worth, even if it makes some mistakes on the way. Because insan can reach a place where it can choose to do good, not because it's forced, but because it wants to. And that's the beauty of it. An angel does good, there's no other way. Insan can reach a place where both options are available, livable, and it reaches a place where it wants the good for itself. But that's not an easy journey. For some people, they have it. From the start, they choose good. But for many people, no, the journey is not that easy. They have to go and experience how bad is to hate it and realize that good is what they want. How many people have you seen that maybe once they go to uni, they've got a little bit more freedom, the restrictions of family are over, they start doing things which previously they hadn't done because their family had forbidden them. They go down a path, and after a few years, one thing leads to another, and suddenly after a few years, they find themselves in a place where they've broken so many hearts, so many promises they made are broken, and they're not happy with what they've done to others. Maybe on the way, they've broken the heart of 3 people. They've created attachments that they could not be committed to, and they look back at those broken hearts, broken promises, and they feel like, no, man, that's not what I wanted to do. I never meant to do this. And it's only after they see how bad that is, how heartbreaking that is, then there's, I want to live my life differently. And they commit to living well in a way that may be stronger than anyone else. Again, I'm not saying so. My prescription for raising kids is that let them make mistakes. No, that's not what I'm saying. I wish no one makes mistakes, because mistakes hurt people. Mistakes lead to broken hearts. Mistakes lead to broken promises. I don't want anyone to make mistakes. But I'm saying the way to do that is to be a little bit more understanding, to allow a little bit more honesty, even if not in community, at least in families. Imagine a father who's been down this path. When he was younger, he made a few mistakes. But now he thinks that I'm not going to share this with my kid. And anytime his child, who's now a young person, and says, Dad, I want to do this thing. I want to try this thing. All my friends are doing. And Daddy only says, no, it's wrong. Well, tell him, no, it's wrong. It's not going to cut it. Imagine if Daddy opened up and said, you know what, son? Sit down. I need to talk to you. This path, I can't force you, because parents, honestly, we can't force our kids. Try your best. It's not going to work. But maybe as a parent, I can sit my kid down and say, you know what, this path, okay, fair enough, I can't force you. But see, people before you have tried it. Well, if Daddy made a mistake, why not open about it and say, you know what, I did this. And it led to this and this and that. You give them a taste of what mistake could do. And the person, if you're lucky, may decide not to go that way. But I'm saying that as long as we don't allow even honesty in families, all these things are just kept in the shadows. They don't go anywhere. And believe me, in the shadows of our community, so much is happening. Maybe you know better than me. But so much is happening. And it's not going to go anywhere if we don't speak about it. The only thing that is going to happen is that we will not be able to equip our youth and ourselves against all the mistakes they're already making. I'm saying honesty allows them to maybe get a kind of wisdom that would change it. The help they need. Many people are already telling me that I've already realized this path was wrong. I'm committed to this thing. It's affecting my self-esteem. It's taken my life over. I have no control over it. I keep doing it. I make a decision not to. 2 hours later, I'm doing it again. Help! Where can I go to get help? And believe me, it's not easy. Once something leads to compulsion, we'll speak about this a little bit more tomorrow. It's not easy to get out of it. So honesty, a little bit of transparency, knowing that ultimately we all have made mistakes, or at least some of us, and sharing that with other people can prevent us from making more mistakes. And it's very beautiful because look at it, for example, in a lot of addiction camps in which people are trying to help others to quit their addictions. Most of the people who are working there or they're volunteering there are previous addicts. Because a person who's been down a path knows better than anyone else how to help others not go there, or if they've already started, help them out. But if I cannot open about the mistakes I've made, how can I pass that wisdom to you? How can I share that experience to you? One of the best books written on addiction is by a neuroscientist called Mark Lewis. He's got 2 books, The Memoirs of an Addicted Brain and The Biology of Desire. If you're addicted or you want to learn more about addiction, definitely read these 2 books. Amazing books. What's the story of this guy? He was studying psychology in undergrad. Then when he reaches around late 20s or maybe early 30s, he becomes addicted to drugs himself. And a few years of very tough life. And I think he ends up in jail, or maybe not. But he manages to quit. But those few years in which he's going through all of that addiction, and it really hurts him, because we'll speak about addiction more to see how it affects your life. He really makes it his life goal to study addiction and help others stop that. And he becomes a neuroscientist to study what happens to the brain when you get addicted, and he's written a beautiful book that can help many people. And his first book actually is about his own journey of dealing with addiction, The Memoirs of an Addicted Brain. It's about himself. And I'm thinking, if he was in a community in which he couldn't share that, what would happen? If he couldn't open up about this idea that this was my past. I've overcome it now, but on the way, I learned so much that I can share. If he couldn't do that, you know how many people would have lost that wisdom? And I'm not saying now from tomorrow, let's everyone start saying, oh, this is my past. No, obviously I'm not saying that. No, I'm just saying at least maybe in small doses, at least in families, maybe allowing our children to speak to us a little bit without fearing that if they open up to us about what they're doing, they're going to lose our love. Because see, this is something that I've said so many times. Imam Ali says in one of the munajats that as soon as a person admits, I'm making a mistake, and they're not happy about it, that's it. They've done most of the way to accept. So if as a parent, your child comes to you and says, Mom, Dad, I made this mistake. At that moment, don't think that, oh my God, look at this child I have. Terrible child. Oh, what? At that moment, what I want you to think about is what a beautiful child I have, that after he or she made a mistake, now she's coming to me, admitting and wants it to change. Depriving your child of your love, not helping them or judging them is not going to help them in changing that mistake. I've spoken about this before. The strongest thing you have, the strongest tool you have to help your children, if they've already made a mistake, to quit or to stop, is to show them you accept them, you love them, and you're there for them now that they want to change. But allow them to come to you. If your child or my child thinks that if I open up to mommy or daddy, what I'm going to be facing is judgment, is attack, the cost of opening up becomes much higher. And so the mistake will continue in shadow. Even if they want it to stop, they can't get the tools they need, the resources they need. Because sometimes you need the support of your family to stop something. Sometimes you need an adult to help you how to deal with a situation. Maybe other people are involved. So, and the interesting thing is we're in the month of Muharem as well, in which we are, one of the characters that we so much love, Hurr ibn Riyahi, is a person who till the last moments of his life he was making mistakes, serious mistakes. He was the one who stopped the caravan of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He's the one who, if it wasn't for him, maybe all of this wouldn't happen. Maybe Imam Hussein and his family wouldn't have been killed that way. He stopped them. Imam Hussein said, okay, let us go to somewhere else. You don't want us to go to Kufa, we'll go somewhere else. No, stay here. He did all of that. Imagine what kind of serious mistake is that. If at that point, if we went back in time and we encountered Hur at that time, when he stopped the caravan of Imam Hussein, what would we think of him? Ooh, lost cause, burnt soul, that's it, you're done. No possibility of salvation for you. You stopped the caravan of Imam Hussein. Can you imagine a mistake bigger than that? But what does Imam Hussein see? Still potential to change. Even Hur, I'm going to bring him back to the right way. Terrible mistakes, but Imam Hussein sees, no, even Hur can return. And he does. He does. And in many communities around the world, every year, people remember Hur ibn Riyahi as a beautiful companion of Imam Hussein. We celebrate his life and mourn his shahada. Imagine the place he's reached, remembered every year by the faithful people around the world. Only because Imam Hussein gave him a second chance after the most terrible mistake. So I'm saying sometimes people need to, unfortunately, I wish it wasn't like that. Again, I'm not saying let's go make mistakes. Wallah, mistakes make life hell. And I'll speak about this tomorrow. But sometimes we make them. And it's only if people come to our support and help that we can get rid of them. Please recite the salawat. There's a very beautiful verse in the Quran. It's in Surah Yunus, verse 99. Allow me to read it. وَلَوْ شَاءَ رَبُّكَ لَآمَنَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كُلُّهُمْ جَمِيعًا أَفَأَنْتَ تُكْرِهُ النَّاسَ حَتَّى يَكُونُوا مُؤْمِنِينَ. Surah Yunus, verse 99. God in this verse is saying, if I wanted, I could make everyone believe. I could make everyone believe, do the right thing. Do you think that's difficult for God? No. God says, if I wanted, had I wished, I could make every single human being believe in the right things, do the right things. But I don't want. And then God says to the Prophet, who are you to want that and force them to do good? See, if we force our children to do good, instead of showing them that good is good, we are going against the philosophy of creation of insan. The whole reason God created us is that God wanted creatures who do good not because they're forced, but because they choose to. As long as I'm forced to do good, I'm not an insan. I become insan only when I see and choose good for myself. And so when we are in a position to train the next generation of people in our community, or as a parent, when we want to train our kids, we don't want kids who are forced to do good. We want kids who choose to do good. Okay, let's go to the last point, number 10, second point for tonight, but with the 8 that we discussed yesterday, it's going to be the last one. What is the last way in which our community, and this is not just our community, many religious communities are stuck at the surface of religion and they have opportunity to go deeper? This is it. Insan is missing in our version of an ideal religious society. What do I mean by that? See, imagine if you're a head of a religious school or head of a community, and you want to think, okay, what kind of community would be the ideal community? What are some of the things you would come up with? Unfortunately, in many places, the ideal we have has nothing to do with insan. What is it? Okay, I want in this school for Quran to be recited. There has to be namaz jama'at. Okay? Congregational prayer, Quran to be recited. People should fast. And they should wear hijab, right? everything is about certain actions. That's ideal. Imagine if someone told you you can send your child to a school in which they recite Quran in the morning. When the Salat al-Zuhr time comes, they all gather, they pray, everyone wears hijab. You'll be like, ooh, perfect school for my child. I'm not saying you're like that, by the way. I'm saying some people could be like that. I'm obviously overgeneralizing. But you see that there is no attention almost as to what are those kids like. Okay, they're all praying. They're all reciting Quran in the morning. What are they like? What is their relationship with God? Do they bully each other? When someone is hurt, do others know how to show support? Does she know how to heal that hurt and forgive? Is she a kind of person that hurts others or not? Is she able to enjoy life? The inner qualities of a human being, none of that is present in our idea of what a religious school or religious community should be like. Again, I'm obviously overgeneralizing. So maybe some places that's the case. And again, I'm not saying prayer in the school is bad or Quran in the school is bad. When did I say that? No, it's beautiful. But I am saying, what is the first priority? What is the second priority? Is it good to make sure that in this school, for example, in a, by the way, by this I mean imaginary school. Because, you know, one of the things about me is that primary school and high school, I've been to 8 different schools. And I've received so many different experiences of how schools deal with prayer. Even in Iran, different cities here. In Iran, I remember one of the things they do was that prayer time for us as kids was the most horrible time of the day. One of the tutors would come, very grumpy. Everyone, everyone, go to prayer. Grumpy. If you didn't pray, the judgment on their face. I'm like, how many muscles on your face are you using to look at me like that? You felt the judgment in a way that destroyed you for at least a week if you just didn't pray. And believe me, not even one sitting us down. This is even, for example, in a religious city. This is where I went to school in Qom as well. Not even once they sat us down, oh, what is this prayer? What does it mean? Who are you talking to? What's happening? Just once we got lucky, a scholar came. Last year I was there. And he said, by the way, in prayer, you're talking to God. I was like, wow, really? No one told us that. And when I look around, no one's doing that. None of that. What did they care about? Everyone in this school is praying. And everyone was proud of that. Families were happy about that. And a lot of the times, even when you speak to the school, they're like, believe me, it's not me. It's the parents. If we want to be a little bit more, give a little bit more freedom to the children, if we want to, for example, talk to them, families get on our case. So it's a mutual thing. I'm not saying it's anyone's fault. Although I'm not even saying it's family's fault. It's no one's fault. We're all trying our best. But let's make our best achieve more. How many people can say that their experience they had of praying, for example, in a place of education, or in Sunday school it was, or another place, was an experience in which made them fall in love with God? That's the question. We don't want just appearances. We want them. But we want those appearances in the service of the highest priorities, which is what kind of insan are you? We are not at the business of creating acts. We're at the business of creating beautiful individuals, insans. Yesterday, if you remember, I promised you that after we spoke about all the things we do, we will go back and see what is Imam Ali saying about an ideal community, ideal insan. Does, for example, Imam Ali say, okay, I want the ideal person with piety to be the one who prays all the time, recites Quran all the time? What's the priority? Not that those are bad things, those are beautiful things. Imam Ali alayhi salam, in Khutbah Muttaqeen, which is, as we said yesterday, the sermon in which Imam Ali is describing the pious people to Hammam. Please pay attention. This is crucial. عظم الخالق في أنفسهم فصغر ما دونه في أعينهم. First quality Imam Ali mentions, although first quality in my list, I brought some of it for you because the khutbah is a little bit longer. Imam Ali says God is so great in their eyes that everything else in comparison loses significance. See? It's a very real inner quality. He says, as a result of their religiosity of praying Quran, whatever, they've reached a place where they have encountered God's greatness in such a real way that everything else has lost its significance. Imagine if we can give this to our child. Instead of at every point of their life telling them, pay attention a little bit to your religion. Do you want to, pray a little bit more? God is important. No, I want to study. No, I want to have fun. No, I want to do this. No, I want to do that. What does that mean? God is not great in their heart. Imam Ali says, give this to them. Make God great in their heart. Naturally, everything else becomes secondary in their eyes. After that, they don't need you anymore. They don't need you to every step of the way tell them, be careful, don't do this too much. Be careful with that. No, everything else has lost its significance for them. Allahu Akbar not as a sentence. Allahu Akbar as a reality. نزلت أنفسهم منهم في البلاء كالتي نزلت في الرخاء. Imam Ali, what are you saying? Imam says they reach a place in which their heart, in both difficulty and easy times, joyful times, is in the same situation, same state. Whether life is easy or life is difficult, their inner state is the same. Their heart is at peace. Imam Ali says, this is what I want you to give to your children. This is what I want you to achieve for yourself. And of course, prayer, salat, Quran, all of these will help. We'll talk later on how they can help. Actually, one of the ways in which they can help is if we realize they are a goal to achieve these things. They are not the ultimate goal themselves. God says, أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي. Pray so that you can remember me. And أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. You pray not because prayer is the ultimate goal. أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي. Pray so that you can remember me. What happens when you remember me? أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. Your heart is at peace. And you remember God. And you can see how Imam Ali is giving a tafsir of Quran for us. Because he says, أَظُمَ الْخَالِقُ فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ. They have felt God's greatness. They've remembered God in the most real of ways. And بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. Their heart has found such peace that whether they're facing difficulty or ease, they have the same inner peace. شُرُورُهُمْ مَأْمُونَةٌ. Imam Ali says these muttaqeen, pious people, ba taqwa, is a kind of person that shururuhum ma'muna. People are safe from their harm. And this kind of person, everyone knows, this person cannot harm us. This person will never break my heart, will never break his promises, will never say anything that would offend me, would never say, would never use my insecurities against me, would never hurt my family in front of me. In all the ways in which we harm each other. Imam Ali says they're not like that. And imagine if we have a family of 4 people in which they just work on this thing. Shururuhum ma'muna. Children know daddy's not going to harm me. Partners know my partner's not going to harm me. Parents know my children is not going to hurt me. Wouldn't that be heaven? Well, Imam Ali is saying that's taqwa. That's what Islam is. That's the depth of Islam. يَعْفُو عَمَّنْ ظَلَمَهُ. It's not just that he won't hurt anyone or she won't hurt anyone. No, they go higher. They reach to a place that even when someone hurts them, they forgive. And we spoke in Ramadan that forgiveness, you cannot fake it. You cannot force it. Forgiveness is a procedural knowledge. You have to learn how to let go. You have to learn how to heal. We'll speak about this later on. So this person, شُرُورُهُمْ مَأْمُونَةٌ يَعْفُو عَمَّنْ ظَلَمَهُ وَيُعْتِي مَنْ حَرَمَهُ. Even if someone deprives them, doesn't give to them, they will give to them. Even if, for example, my partner is not giving love to me, I still give love. If my child is disrespecting me, I still respect. If a brother, if a friend, if a person in community, if someone at work is not respecting me, I will still respect them. وَيَسِلُ مَنْ قَطَعَهُ. If they stop messaging me, if they stop talking to me, if they stop the relationship with me, I won't do that unless it annoys them. But just because you cut off with me, just because you stop caring about me, I'm not going to stop caring about you. بَعِيدًا فُحْشُهُ لَيِّنًا قَوْلُهُ. Swear words, harsh words, words that hurt are so far from them. Their speech is soft. Ayatollah Fatimiyya was once saying a beautiful point. He said, sometimes we even want to do good things, but the way we say good things, it's not soft enough. And it's been really on my mind. I haven't managed to get there, but I'm thinking about it. So for example, sometimes we want to do mujamala ta'aruf. مثلا you want to do something for your mom. So I say, Mom, I'll do your shopping and bring it for you. And your mom's like, no, you don't need to. Or sometimes we become so forceful. I'll do it, stop it, I'll do your shopping and bring it. We're doing something so good, but the way we say it is not that soft. Right? Imam Ali says not only they do good, but their language is soft. Mom, let me do it. You've done so much for me. Qurbunet beram. Sometimes even when we want to do good, we could be much softer. So Imam Ali says this is what they are. Layyinan qawlu. What else? I'm going to read 2 more lines for you, and the rest of those 2 lines, we're going to speak about them for a week. Believe me, I'm not joking, no exaggeration. We're going to take those 2 lines and spend the rest of the week with them. So please, if you're here tonight, make sure you continue the rest of these sessions. Even if you can't come here, at home, make yourself some karak chai, watch on YouTube, right? We are going to try and see what does these 2 lines of Imam Ali mean, and why is it that all these years we never thought about them? أرادتهم الدنيا فلم يريدوها وأسرتهم ففدوا أنفسهم منها. I'll just mention the translation, but the meaning of it we'll speak about later. Imam says the world wants them, but they didn't want the world. Not the world, sorry, dunya. I'll speak about the distinction between dunya and world as well. World is not dunya. 2 different things. Imam says dunya wanted them. Dunya wanted to, captivate them, arrest them, but they broke free. They escaped the bondage of dunya. And we speak about how important this is. Inshallah, we'll start that discussion from tomorrow. Tonight, we're going to start and we've already started a little bit of the depth, but tomorrow is when our real stuff starts. The last line. فَهُمْ وَالْجَنَّةِ كَمَنْ قَدْ رَآهَا فَهُمْ فِيهَا مُنَعَّمُونَ. Imam Ali says these muttaqeen, these pious people, they're in such way as if they are already in heaven. And they are already benefiting from the ni'mats of heaven right now. Isn't that crazy? Imam Ali is saying they have reached a level where it's as if they can see heaven right now. Right now. And so inshallah we'll start a discussion tomorrow to show you this. That akhirah is not something that happens at a later time. Because a lot of us, that's what we think. We are right now in dunya, and then at some point we die, dunya finishes, akhirah starts. Although we're going to speak about this idea that no, Akhirah doesn't start at some point in future. Akhirah exists already. We're going to talk about what that means. What is dunya? What is akhirah? What is hubbud dunya? What does this verse mean, for example, that in the Quran, God says, follow the Prophet, and as a result of that, you will become alive. Aren't we already alive? What is Quran on about? We talk about this verse, for example, that those who follow the Prophet, يَضَعُ عَنْهُمْ إِسْرَهُمْ وَالْأَغْلَالَ الَّتِي كَانَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ. They will be relieved of their burden, and the shackles that were upon them, they would be freed from that. What kind of shackles are we in right now? Do you feel any shackles? Do you feel in bondage right now? What is Quran talking about? What does it mean that Prophet is going to set us free from the bondage we're in right now? What does it mean that the Prophet is going to make us alive? What does Imam Ali mean when he says Jannah is already here? There are some people who see it. Not just they see it, فِيهَا مُنَعَّمُونَ. They're already enjoying its blessings. And as we speak about all of that, we will also understand what did Imam Hussein wrote in that letter to Muhammad Hanafi. Imam Hussein has a line which is so magnificent, so amazing. He says, كَأَنَّ الدُّنْيَا لَمْ تَكُنْ وَالْآخِرَ لَمْ تَزَلْ. It's as if dunya never existed and akhirah was always there. What does that mean? It is such a deep and profound sentence, and tomorrow we're going to explore that. So let me just give you an overview of what to expect from tomorrow. We are going to speak about this idea that in the same way that religion has depth, this world also has depth. In the same way that we have been discussing about going from the surface of religion to its depth, in this world as well, we can go from its surface to the depth. Right now, right here in this life. We don't need to die for this. And we will see that this world is not the same as dunya. Dunya is only the surface of this world, and its depth is akhirah. So there is a way for us, even in this world, through the teachings of Prophet Ahlul Bayt, to go to the depth of this world and find akhirah there. And not just find akhirah there, find our Creator, find our connection with God. And I'm going to even tell you another interesting thing that we are going to find as we go into the depth of this life, of our experience, is ourself. And I'm going to be trying to show you that in the same way that we are stuck at the surface of religion, we are stuck at the surface of this world. In this world, the reason it doesn't make sense, the reason it's so painful, the reason it's just so annoying, is that we are trapped and stuck at its surface. It's possible to go deeper, and I'm going to show you as we do that, we realize that we didn't even know ourselves. We don't know how amazing, how special we are. And we are stuck at the surface of ourself as well. And we're going to go deeper and find deeper places inside ourselves and realize what does it mean, man arafa nafsah faqad arafa rabbah. Or the verse in the Quran that they forgot God and they forgot themselves. What does it mean to forget yourself? We're going to talk about all of that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Tonight is a very special night. Tonight we have so many other things to learn. It's not knowledge. It's how to live. It's courage. It's patience. And who better to learn that from than Imam Hussein and his family? Tonight, the difficult days of Lady Zainab are starting. So wherever you are, I ask of you, please try to bring your heart to a present state, and inshallah we're going to benefit from the Messiah. Please recite salawat.